If you've ever caught yourself out of breath walking up the stairs and thought, wow, that shouldn't feel this hard, or you've worried about what pollution, past smoking, or even COVID might have done to your lungs, you are very much not alone. Most of us think about heart health, brain health, maybe gut health, but we don't really think about feeding our lungs until there's a problem. You can't see your lungs getting inflamed from pollution. You can't see the tiny air sacs getting damaged from years of smoking or repeated infections. But quietly in the background, your lungs are constantly dealing with oxygen, smoke, dust, viruses, and everything else you breathe in. You already know the big lung savers. Don't smoke or vape. Stay active, manage your weight, stay up to date on vaccines, avoid irritants when you can. Today we're going to add one more layer most people completely overlook: food. More specifically, we're going to talk about 6 superfoods for lung health that are actually worth your time. Now, I want to be honest from the start. Superfood is mostly a marketing word. No single food will detox your lungs, cure asthma, reverse COPD, or protect you from everything in the air. But there are foods that, when you eat them regularly, can make your lungs more resilient by reducing inflammation, neutralizing oxidative stress, supporting your immune system, and helping your blood carry oxygen more efficiently. By the end of this video, you'll know which 6 foods are especially powerful, how they actually help your lungs, how to work them into your real life, and who needs to be a bit careful with each one. And just to be clear, this is general education, not personal medical advice. If you have asthma, COPD, long COVID, recurrent chest infections, or any lung disease, you still need to be working with a healthcare provider. Food is support, not a substitute for treatment. All right, let's start with a quick, simple picture of what your lungs are up against every day, so the why behind these foods makes sense. Inside your chest are millions of tiny air sacs called alveoli. They're thin, delicate, and surrounded by a dense network of blood vessels. Every breath you take brings in oxygen and carries out carbon dioxide across those membranes. Now add reality: cigarette smoke or vaping aerosols if you've ever used them, wildfire smoke, city pollution, dust, chemical fumes at work, respiratory viruses, allergens. All of that irritates the lining of your airways and air sacs. Your lung tissue responds with inflammation, immune cells rush in, chemical messengers are released, and reactive oxygen species, free radicals, build up. In the short term, this helps you survive. Over years, too much of that chronic inflammation and oxidative stress starts to damage and scar lung tissue. You can't eat your way out of smoking or living in a polluted city, but you can eat in a way that gives your lungs more antioxidant and anti-inflammatory backup so they're not fighting unprotected. That's where our first food comes in. Food number 1, fatty fish like salmon, sardines, mackerel, trout, and herring. These fish are rich in long-chain omega-3 fats, specifically EPA and DHA. These are not the same as the plant omega-3s in chia or flax. EPA and DHA are more directly involved in making anti-inflammatory compounds in your body. Why does that matter for your lungs? When your airways are inflamed from asthma, pollution, smoke, or chronic bronchitis, immune cells in the lungs release substances that narrow your airways, thicken mucus, and damage delicate tissues. Omega-3s get built into those cell membranes and can shift the balance away from pro-inflammatory molecules toward more resolving, calming ones. Some studies have found that people who eat more omega-3 rich fish have better lung function and lower risk of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. In asthma, higher omega-3 intake has been associated with fewer symptoms and less medication use in some groups, though the effect is modest. Practically, what does this look like? Aim for about 2 servings per week of fatty fish if you eat fish. That could be grilled salmon with roasted vegetables, canned sardines mashed with lemon and herbs on whole grain toast, mackerel fillets baked with garlic and tomatoes, or trout tacos with cabbage and avocado. If you're vegetarian or don't do fish, plant sources like flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts, and hemp seeds provide ALA, a different omega-3 that your body can partially convert to EPA and DHA. The conversion isn't very efficient, but it's still better than nothing. There are also algae-based omega-3 supplements that provide DHA and EPA directly. If you go that route, talk to your doctor first, especially if you're on blood thinners. Who needs to be cautious? If you're pregnant, breastfeeding, or have concerns about mercury and contaminants, focus on lower mercury fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and trout, and avoid very large predatory fish like shark or swordfish. And if you're allergic to fish, do not experiment with this. Stick to plant-based options and medical advice. Food number 2, leafy green vegetables. Think spinach, kale, collard greens, Swiss chard, arugula, and romaine. Leafy greens are like a multivitamin on a plate. Vitamin C, vitamin E, beta-carotene, folate, magnesium, nitrates, and a whole family of plant antioxidants called carotenoids and flavonoids. For your lungs, leafy greens help in at least 3 important ways. First, antioxidants. Remember those reactive oxygen species we talked about, the ones that build up from pollution, smoking, and normal metabolism? Antioxidants in greens help neutralize those free radicals before they can damage lung cells and the lining of your airways. Second, anti-inflammatory effects. Many of the phytochemicals in greens can dial down chronic inflammation. Less background inflammation in your body means less inflammatory noise your lungs have to deal with on top of everything else. Third, blood vessel support. The natural nitrates in leafy greens can be converted into nitric oxide, a compound that helps your blood vessels relax. Better blood flow isn't just good for your heart. It helps your lungs exchange gases more efficiently because the tiny blood vessels around your air sacs can dilate and carry more oxygen. Some observational studies have found that diets high in fruits and vegetables, particularly leafy greens, are linked to better lung function and lower risk of COPD, even after accounting for smoking. How do you actually get more of them? Add a handful of spinach or kale to your morning eggs or tofu scramble. Blend a small handful of greens into a smoothie with berries and banana. Have a big salad with dark greens at lunch most days. Sauté garlic and olive oil with chopped collard greens or Swiss chard as a simple dinner side. If you're on blood thinners like warfarin, big changes in leafy green intake can affect your medication. The key there is consistency. Talk with your prescribing doctor, and if you're going to increase greens, do it gradually and let them know so they can monitor your levels. Food number 3, apples, and close cousins like pears. It might sound almost too simple to be called a superfood, but apples show up again and again in lung research. Apples are rich in vitamin C, soluble fiber, and a flavonoid called quercetin. Quercetin has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties and may help stabilize certain immune cells in the airways. Several large population studies have found that people who eat more apples tend to have better lung function and lower risk of asthma or COPD. In one study of ex-smokers published in the European Respiratory Journal, those who ate more apples and tomatoes had a slower decline in lung function over about a decade than those who ate fewer. Now, that doesn't mean apples cure smoking damage. It does suggest that the mix of antioxidants and fiber in apples may help protect lung tissue from further decline, especially when the main source of damage, smoking, has stopped. Fiber matters too. High-fiber diets are linked to lower inflammation and better gut health, which is tightly connected to your immune system. A calmer immune system means fewer over-the-top inflammatory responses in your lungs. Practical ways to use this: keep apples where you can see them and grab one as your default snack instead of chips or candy. Slice an apple into oatmeal, yogurt, or peanut butter toast. Make a simple dessert of baked apples with cinnamon and a bit of nuts instead of something highly processed. The key is the whole fruit. Apple juice doesn't offer the same fiber or the same slow release of sugar, and it's easier to overdo. If you have issues with fructose intolerance or certain types of IBS, apples can be a trigger food. In that case, work with a dietitian or doctor to find fruits that your gut handles better. There are still options for lung support even if apples aren't your friend. Food number 4, berries, especially dark ones like blueberries, blackberries, and strawberries. Berries are tiny antioxidant powerhouses rich in anthocyanins, the pigments that give them their deep red, blue, and purple colors. Anthocyanins can cross from your bloodstream into tissues, including the lungs. Once there, they help neutralize oxidative stress and may protect the structure of your airways and air sacs. In one study, higher intake of anthocyanin-rich foods, especially blueberries, was associated with a slower age-related decline in lung function in older adults. Again, this doesn't prove cause and effect, but it fits with what we know about how anthocyanins behave in the body. Berries also bring vitamin C, fiber, and other phytochemicals that support your immune system, which is your lungs' frontline defense against infections that can cause long-term damage. Simple ways to get more berries in: add a handful of frozen berries to your morning oatmeal or smoothie. Top plain yogurt with berries and a sprinkle of nuts instead of sugary flavored yogurt. Snack on fresh strawberries or blueberries in the afternoon instead of ultra-processed sweets. Keep a bag of mixed berries in the freezer and toss them into water or sparkling water for flavor. If you're watching your budget, frozen berries are usually cheaper and just as nutritious as fresh, sometimes more because they're picked at peak ripeness and frozen quickly. If you take certain blood-thinning medications or have specific health conditions, huge amounts of berries could theoretically affect clotting, but for most people, regular, moderate berry intake is very safe. If you're unsure, a quick check-in with your provider is worth it. Food number 5, tomatoes and tomato products. Tomatoes are rich in lycopene, a powerful carotenoid antioxidant that's particularly good at neutralizing certain types of free radicals. Lycopene is fat-soluble, and interestingly, your body actually absorbs it better from cooked tomato products, like tomato sauce, tomato paste, or stewed tomatoes, especially when they're eaten with a bit of healthy fat. That same European study I mentioned earlier didn't just find apples were helpful. Ex-smokers who ate more tomatoes, especially more than 2 servings a day, also had a slower decline in lung function over about 10 years. That suggests tomatoes might help preserve lung capacity in people whose lungs have already been challenged. Lycopene and other compounds in tomatoes seem to have anti-inflammatory effects on the airways and blood vessels. They may also help modulate immune function and protect cell membranes in lung tissue from oxidative damage. How do you add more tomatoes realistically? Use a tomato-based sauce with olive oil on whole grain pasta and veggies. Add canned, no salt added tomatoes to soups, stews, and chili. Make a simple bruschetta with chopped tomatoes, basil, garlic, and olive oil on whole grain bread. Include tomato paste in homemade sauces for a lycopene boost. A couple of cautions here. For some people with acid reflux, GERD, tomatoes and tomato sauces can worsen symptoms. Reflux can trigger coughing and even asthma-like symptoms in some people. If you notice that tomato-heavy meals make your chest burn or your cough worse, this particular superfood might not be ideal for you, at least in large amounts or at night. Also, many commercial tomato sauces are loaded with added sugar and salt. Read labels, choose low-sodium options when you can, and consider making simple versions at home where you control what goes in. Food number 6, garlic and onions, the allium family. We've talked about garlic for other benefits, but it deserves a place on the lung list too. Garlic and onions contain sulfur-containing compounds like allicin in garlic and various organosulfur compounds in both. These have been shown to have antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and antimicrobial properties. From a lung perspective, here are a few ways they may help. They can modulate inflammation in the airways, potentially reducing some of the background irritation that makes conditions like asthma and chronic bronchitis worse. They support the immune system in fighting off respiratory infections, which over time can damage lung tissue if you get them frequently. Lab studies have shown that garlic extracts can inhibit the growth of certain bacteria and viruses, including some that commonly affect the respiratory tract. Some observational studies have even suggested that higher garlic intake might be associated with a lower risk of lung cancer, especially in smokers. But that's early correlational data and not something to rely on instead of quitting smoking. Real-world ways to use garlic and onions: sauté onions and garlic as the flavor base for soups, stews, and stir-fries. Roast whole garlic bulbs and spread the softened cloves on bread or mix into mashed potatoes. Add raw red onion and a bit of garlic to salads, salsas, or bean dishes for extra punch. Use them generously in tomato-based sauces, combining 2 lung-friendly foods at once. If raw garlic bothers your stomach, cook it gently instead of eating it raw. If you're on blood thinners or have a bleeding disorder, large amounts of garlic, especially in supplement form, can affect clotting, so talk with your doctor before really ramping up or taking concentrated pills. And of course, if you have a true allergy or intolerance to alliums, skip these and focus on the other foods we've talked about. Now, you might have noticed something. All 6 of these superfoods are not exotic powders or expensive juices. They're normal, accessible foods: fish, greens, apples, berries, tomatoes, garlic, onions. That's not an accident. When researchers look at people with better lung function, fewer symptoms, or slower decline over years, they're not finding secret Amazonian fruits. They're usually finding dietary patterns. Lots of fruits and vegetables, healthy fats, high-fiber foods, and fewer ultra-processed products. The 6 foods we've talked about are like cornerstones of that pattern, particularly helpful for lungs because they deliver antioxidants right when your lungs are under oxidative stress, lower systemic inflammation that spills over into your airways, support blood flow through your lungs' tiny vessels, and back up your immune system so infections are less severe or frequent. Food alone can't undo smoking, chronic exposure to toxic fumes, or uncontrolled asthma, but if you pair these foods with the big lung-protecting moves, not smoking or vaping, staying active, managing your weight, wearing masks or respirators when you're exposed to dust or chemicals, and following your doctor's treatment plan if you have a lung condition, you're giving your lungs every reasonable advantage you can. Let's quickly pull it all together into something you can actually use this week. If all of this feels like a lot, don't try to overhaul everything at once. Choose 1 or 2 of these foods and make them regulars. Maybe you decide that. Twice a week, you'll have a salmon or trout dinner instead of takeout. Most days, you'll add a serving of leafy greens, even just a handful of spinach. To one meal, you'll swap your afternoon cookie for an apple and a few berries 3 days a week. You'll include some tomato-based dish a few times a week, and you'll cook with onions and garlic as your go-to flavor base most nights. Individually, none of those steps feels huge, but your lungs don't respond to what you do once. They respond to what you do most of the time, over months and years. And if you do have a diagnosed lung condition, asthma, COPD, bronchiectasis, long COVID, think of these foods as part of your lung toolkit, right next to your inhaler, your exercise plan, your vaccinations, and your air quality awareness. If you're not sure where to start and you want one very simple challenge, here it is. For the next 14 days, try to get at least 3 of these 6 foods into your week, any combination, and repeat that each week. Pay attention not just to your breathing, but to your overall energy, your recovery from minor colds, and how you feel on exertion. It won't be dramatic in 2 weeks, but you'll know you're building something that pays you back over time. And always, if you have symptoms like persistent cough, wheezing, chest tightness, coughing up blood, or shortness of breath that's new or worsening, please don't just eat healthier and hope. Get evaluated. Food is powerful, but it's not a replacement for diagnosis and proper treatment. I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 6 foods do you already eat regularly? And which one are you most interested in adding for your lungs? Let me know in the comments. Your ideas and recipes might help someone else watching this. If you found this helpful and you want more clear, no-hype videos that help you protect your health in realistic ways, consider subscribing. We'll keep talking about simple things you can do that your future lungs, heart, and brain will quietly thank you for. Take care of your lungs. They're working for you every second, whether you notice them or not. And I'll see you in the next video.